I'm standing here in the office of David Finch, a local author and artist who you might know. David, what do you do?
I work for DC Comics. I'm writing and drawing Batman the Dark Knight. And I worked for Image Comics for a long, long time, then for Marvel Comics. Marvel's a big company. They've got Spider-Man and X-Men and, the Hulk. Just the last year I've been with DC and I've been doing Batman, which is something that I've wanted to do, my whole career, so it's a dream for me. I like drawing action, but I think my favorite thing to draw is drama. So if something, for me, if I can feel the drama in it, if something that I feel like I can get across visually, that's what I always enjoy the most. Batman is a character with a lot of drama, which, is what always draws me the most. He has a lot of shadow. I really like playing with shadow. I'm a big fan of film noir. There's a lot of years of work on this desk. A lot of ink, India ink, a lot of paint. There's a little bit of watercolor on there. I'm sure if I actually clean this, half of that would come right off. And sometimes it does on the back of the page. There's some whiteout, there's pencil. To do my job, I use a drafting pencil. This is a kneaded eraser, which is great for when I draw. The reason a kneaded eraser works well is I can just really quickly establish the major areas of my drawing, and then I can go in with a kneaded eraser and erase it down to the point where it's almost invisible, but I can still see it on the page. It's still there, and then I can use it to draw my more tight drawing on top of. This is my white eraser, which is great because a white eraser doesn't leave, obviously, pink marks on the page. I've got a few different versions of this. This one actually goes into one of these, which is an electric eraser. This is a lead that just goes into the pencil. I've got this ruler actually, which is not strictly speaking an art tool. This is actually I think a mapping instrument, but it's great because on the page I can just line it up with some of the pre-existing lines. It'll just hinge open and I can create parallel lines very quickly and easily. And then this is a lead pointer. So that's basically my whole tool set. Really, being a penciler, it's pretty bare bones, which is nice. Not a lot of expenses involved. I would say it averages about 8 hours for me to draw a page for a comic. It really depends. A page can be a huge head and it can be an hour, or it can be an army crashing down into another army with tanks and planes in the air, and it can take me, days. It kind of goes through a process where, we check it out and make sure that everything is consistent and the story works. It's very similar to storyboarding for a movie. Everything's drawn out in sequential storytelling, and then it goes to, I work with an inker in California who inks all the pages, and then it goes to a colorist, which is all done actually on the computer now. It used to be done, they would actually cut the colors out, but now it's all computerized, and then it goes to a letterer, and they'll actually put the words that I write into the word balloons and point them at the character's mouths, and that's when you really kind of get something that looks like the finished product. It used to be that in the 50s, in the heyday of the old comics, you had to live in New York City if you wanted to work. That was, any kind of illustration job, you really needed to be in New York. And over the years that changed, and now it's anywhere in the world. So we have artists from, Brazil and Eastern Europe and Asia and all over the place. Windsor's a bit of a microcosm in a way. We've got the wine regions, and it's a really pretty place. It's got a nice climate. We've also got downtown where on the weekends it can get pretty crazy, and we've got the casino, and we've got Detroit right across the river, and Detroit is a whole lot like Gotham City. I love Gotham City. It's visually such an interesting city, and you can make it up because it's a fictional city. There's a lot of latitude to just create what's going to look the coolest on the page. The cars can be anything from modern day to, a 30s kind of a gangster car, and it works in that world. So. I think that everyday life can resemble a comic book world in the sense that I think the most appealing comics exist in a real world kind of a framework where your everyday life can just instantaneously become something spectacular and strange, and you know, that's, I think, the appeal. I think the superheroes that really stand the test of time are the characters that we can all identify with, because, you know, Spider-Man he's a regular guy and he has regular world problems, but nobody knows that he's really Spider-Man. But even when he's Spider-Man, he can never really catch a break, you know, and I think people can really relate with that. And Batman is like the ultimate detective, and he's a playboy, and I think that's something that he's a bit more of a dream, what we'd all like to be, and you know, I think Superman's similar in that way. Wolverine is a very angry character, and he really struggles with his emotions, and I think, you know, most of us can relate with that. So yeah, in a way, I feel like I relate with most of the characters. My sister used to read comics, and I started looking at some of her comics, and it kind of opened up a world to me that I didn't really know existed. I never really read comics as a kid, so I realized that I could actually take art that I loved and, you know, create worlds with it. It's such an immersive thing if you let it be that. It took me about 2 years of learning how to draw, you know, in my mother's basement, which is pretty stereotypical. I think most of us learn that way. It could be very rewarding because it is what you make of it. And I think that's what I enjoy about it the most is, you know, the more you put into it, the more you get out. The important thing to do is just to be drawing and be trying to improve and analyze your work and decide if, for you, what's most important is the quality of the work.
David Finch's work looked so good, I wished I could draw like that. I figured maybe after a couple of pointers, I could do just as well. Well, I guess for now, maybe I'll have to leave the drawing to the professionals.